Why are you here?
I'm looking for a great warrior.
So what kind of warrior have you been?
The way of the warrior.
You needed a warrior's mind.
Clearly, this was all planned by warriors of...
Warriors. Now is the time.
This is Dori Staehle, and you're listening to the Warrior of Impact podcast. I'm a warrior of divine rhythm. What makes you a warrior?
There we go. And we are live. This is Michael, as always, with Shannon, and this is the Warrior of Impact podcast. So just want to make a quick note. May is Mental Health Awareness Month, and throughout the month of May, we're committed to highlighting voices of mental health. So you'll be hearing from guests who have stories as survivors of mental health, people who've gone through their own journey of mental health, as well as bringing you industry professionals who provide resources and services to the community of mental health and who are champions of mental health. I've talked a lot about, my history with ADHD, OCD, and PTSD. And so I believe that a true warrior thing to do is to constantly find ways to strengthen your mental health, whether you are somebody who struggles or suffers or somebody who just wants to make sure that you have the best opportunity for your lives. So today, I'm so unbelievably happy to have our guest on. She's somebody that I've known for a number of years. I've had the pleasure of speaking on the same stage as her. We've known each other for about 9 years. We go in the same circles of networking, and I've just been overjoyed seeing her transformation over the years. She is the coolest rocker chick you will ever meet. Dori Staehle, thank you so much for joining us today. If you want to go ahead and tell us a little bit about you, your journey, your story, we are all ears.
Sure. Thanks so much, Michael. It's funny, whenever I would go out to the networking meetings, I would bring a little drum to use in my 30-second commercial, a smaller version of this, of course. And people would say, what's up with the drum? Why is there a drum chick out there networking? And they just didn't get it, that yes, this is a business, folks. I'm in my drum room here. I do own all of these drums and way more, because I now own Next Stage Drumming. I pared things down, and I am the one and only certified drum therapist in the state of North Carolina, and only one of 3 in the South. Drum therapy is totally different than a drum lesson. So in case you're thinking, well, she's got a drum set in the back, what's up with that? Yeah, that's for me. And also the tall conga drums that are in the corner. I do play and perform mainly with church bands right now. I used to play with a cover band. But that's when I discovered the healing power of drumming. I just auditioned for a church band way back when, at age 47, no experience, no lessons, and I didn't even have any drums at home. It was on my bucket list, right? I just saw an announcement in the church program. Would you like to audition for the band? And I checked yes. And my husband and son said, you did what now? I said, I signed up to audition on Thursday. And they said, but you don't know how to play. And I said, but they don't know that. So let me audition. What's the worst thing they can say, right? Don't call us, we'll call you. That's what I expected, but I thought, well, if I don't try, I'll never know. So there's a good tip for anybody out there that might be holding back and wondering, well, should I try this crazy thing or not? You can't get crazier than what I'm doing here, and you'll find out in a while how this evolves. But just by playing bongos and congas, if you guys are old enough to know who Sheila E. is, original percussionist for Prince, I was like Sheila E. without the stilettos, because I can't drum in heels. And I was just drumming all over creation, following the beats of whatever songs that they were playing. I can read music, but I choose not to. And there's a reason for that. Their setup was huge at this church. It was a very contemporary church with a rock band. Some people who are outside of North Carolina have never heard of this concept, but we were on stage with stage lights, drummer, guitarist, bass player, keys, singers, the whole 9 yards. And there's me with this huge set of conga drums and bongos and all kinds of stuff to shake or whack. And it was like a kid in candy store. But by drumming, I did catch the beat. I did get the adrenaline under control a bit. I always say that ADHD, Michael, really stands for a definitely hyper drummer, and I'm one. There we go. Don't forget to tip your wait staff. I'll be here all week. But yeah, it was like, so much energy. But in the process, I learned to, close my eyes when needed so I could just focus and tune in to the beat because I needed to follow the drummer, not the singers, not anybody else. I had to match the beat of the drummer and I would add a little something, something to the mix. Well, sure enough, I passed the audition. Woo! But in the process, I noticed that while I was drumming, I felt both calm and energized at the same time. At that time, again, we're going back 16 years ago, do the math. Now you know how old I am. There we go. And I was working with young students. I had a tutoring and a consulting business at the time. And my students were telling me when they heard my story, Miss Dori, that's exactly how Ritalin and Adderall work. I went, really? They said, yes, that's how it makes you feel. And I thought, ooh, well, maybe we have a natural alternative then. Let's test this out. So I did with the students that were coming to me for SAT math prep, for example. Don't ask me, really boring. But it was big demand. I do have an MBA in finance. Keep laughing. A drum chick with an MBA. There we go. She can think and drum, folks. But yeah, I worked with them to get them to focus better because they were blowing their math problems. I worked individually, one-on-one. And one by one, these kids would come into my kitchen. We'd sit down at the kitchen table. Miss Dori, I'm so stressed out. I said, what's going on with you today? Well, we got college applications. I got, finals. They were just like a bundle of nerves. And as a result, they were blowing these math problems that the week before they were having no problem with. I said, do you know that I've got this theory called the gifted ADHD connection, and the number one trigger of ADHD symptoms, as I discovered with working with like over hundreds of case studies, number one trigger was stress. What's the best way to literally beat stress? Whack on a drum, people. I'm not kidding. And it's such a great release. So what I did was I took a djembe drum. That's what this is. It's spelled D-J-E-M-B-E. You don't pronounce the D. I don't do African drum, folks. So, no African drumming at all. It looks like an African drum, but I'm a rock chick. So I do Latin, rock, funk, pop, you name it. But I created specific beats and rhythms to help these kids focus better. I didn't know I was onto something. I just knew there's something called brain integration. And that's when you help sync up both the left and the right hemispheres of your brain by doing repetitive motions and moving your hands and sometimes your legs in specific ways. So I just applied that to the drums. So I gave the students one and I had one. We sat across from each other and we just kind of drummed a little bit. Just a very basic pattern. Okay, that was a little bit more complicated than what I've given the beginners, but one kid had some drumming chops. Didn't matter, 5 or 10 minutes of drumming, even with the kids who had never touched a drum before, and they went from a 40% accuracy rate on those math problems to a 100% accuracy rate on the exact same problems. So they wanted to know, Miss Dori, how did that work? And I just said, you've just been recalibrated, my friend. There you go. Brilliant. My fake British accent. But yes, so they knew that, wow, this is a good way to help them relax. I use this with the teens mainly because, I thought they can take this with them when they go to college. Not necessarily my drum, but I can get them just a small one. I told them, keep it in your dorm room closet. And when you need it, when you're feeling stressed out and it feels like everything is crashing down on you and you're having trouble breathing, do 3 things. I still use this today. Take a breath, take a break, and tap out some beats. And even for people who don't have a drum handy, I do a lot of virtual things. I tell them just use a tabletop or your legs. Take some deep breaths and just do like the stopwatch technique. You just tap really, really fast. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You just keep going. You don't even have to count. You take some deep breaths, you focus, and you tell yourself everything is going to be okay. You're going to get past this. You're going to rock it. No matter what, God has given you everything you need to succeed. It's right inside of you. Just let it out and don't worry so much about what could go wrong. Because, anxiety is worrying about what might happen. What if? right? You don't know what's going to happen. And worrying has never fixed anything, never has and never will. So instead of worrying about it, just let it go and drum about whatever comes to mind. You can drum to music, you can drum out some beats, you can work with me for more specific and targeted sorts of exercises. But that's how I started. I would always joke with people when they would say, they need some help with this, that, or the other thing. It's funny because they usually ask me for help with something, but there's always way more going on that they don't even realize. So drum therapy is totally different than a drum lesson. And they find that out by working with me because they will get affirmations, deep breathing. I might give them some encouraging words. As a Christian, I do work directly with God and the Holy Spirit. If you've read my books, I've done I've had dreams and visions, walking with Jesus. It's been pretty bizarre of a ride, but since drumming helped me heal, and we'll get to that in a second, my main mission is to help others focus, feel better, and find their joy, and just release those beats and rhythms, and through that they'll find healing.
I love it. So one of the things that I thought of while you were explaining all that I just now connected the dots to. So in the beginning of this year, I had the experience of exploring EMDR therapy. Mm-hmm. And through that process, which is really like a trauma-based therapy that allows you to quite literally tap into your subconscious. And they do it by using what I always knew as kind of like a sensory technique of tapping, mm-hmm. and it's literally just tap, 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 and you get to a rhythm where you're focused on that. And the reasoning behind it that I learned, which I think actually makes a lot more sense now, like as you're explaining it, is your brain, when it focuses on something, has a tendency to shut down in a protective manner. And so what it does is when things like stress come up, especially with ADHD, that's where we get hyperfocus and distraction. It's a safeguard. Right. And so by tapping, it creates a baseline, puts you into like a theta waves type sense to your brain starts working at a lower frequency while staying awake more, I guess. And by doing that, it actually tunes into to focus on something. And the goal is focus on it, don't solve it, but being aware of it. And by being able to tap through it, it keeps you at a regulated kind of safety comfort of like, I know I'm controlling the beat. I know I'm controlling the flow. And I just find that fascinating to connect the dots there with what you're talking about of, hey, this is a great stress avoider, but why do we have stress in the first place? Well, it's the distraction with the ADHD brain. Distraction is a thought away at any given point. So I just find that fascinating. And I love the whole idea of taking a break and breathing. I've learned a lot through my breathing techniques. I might just have to start incorporating some of the beat aspect. I was definitely the kid that got pencils taken away from me in school.
You and me both, my friend. I tapped on everything. Everything became drumsticks, pencils, chopsticks, silverware, you name it. It just was something that rhythm was always inside of me. I heard the beats and everything. I was always the one tapping my feet. My dad did finally give me tap dancing lessons and jazz, and that helped, but I always wanted to drum. And back in the day, anybody who says back in the day is pretty old, there were no female drummers, believe it or not. Mm. They were all male. And it wasn't until Karen Carpenter hit the scene that it was like, oh, this is possible. Because I told my dad I want to be the first female drummer, but he handed me a guitar instead. And the rest is history, because I did eventually was stubborn enough that I said, I'm going to play drums one day. And took me a while, but I did it. And the cool thing about using drumming for therapy is that I use specific drums for specific reasons in specific ways for specific purposes. It's percussion with a purpose, I call it. So even though, EMDR and other forms of tapping and things like that, like the emotional freedom technique and all, those are great, but they don't work for me at all. And so for me, I found out why, because a lot of my clients have asked me, how does this work? And after my accident, when God told me to use the drums on myself, I was like, what? That's what I heard. Use the drums, Dori. The plumber always has a leaky faucet. I saw, as they say, right? I never thought of using the drums on myself. I had seen results with others, from people suffering from anxiety, depression, PTSD, obviously ADHD, autism, a young girl with a seizure disorder, many stressed out entrepreneurs, and just people who were coming to my fun hand drumming classes, for example. They would walk in and say, I came in here with a shoulder pain or back pain, and now it's gone. How did that work? Here's the trick. Sound waves. Certain drums produce very strong sound waves, especially if you hit the right parts of the drum. And so I always tell people when they're working with me privately or in a class, you got to make sure you're hitting the drum the right way so that you're generating a lot of sound waves. You won't get the same types of sound waves, say on the drum set or on the drum pad with sticks. Have used both before. But when you're hitting both this and also a buffalo drum, brace yourselves, people. I might have to sit back a little bit because this is pretty strong. This is not an authentic, none of my drums are really authentic to the culture, so there's no cultural appropriation here at all. This is actually all synthetic, and I use a mallet. And see, I'm rolling this in a circle because you can't hear it on the other side, usually on Zoom. But what happens is the vibrations keep going. And you'll hear that, not quite like a didgeridoo, but you do feel those vibrations. They go through the whole room. And I always joke when I work with a group, whether it's a class or an event or whatever, brace yourself. I'll go around them. They usually sit in chairs in a circle. I bring out all the drums so everybody has one of these in front of them. I tell them, just put your hands on your lap, get ready to receive. Women especially have a hard time receiving because we're so used to taking care of everybody and everything and our families and all that. Some guys too, they have a lot of that burden on them, and it's really hard for them to just let somebody, let me take care of things for a second. Just put your hands on your lap, get ready for a sound massage. Close your eyes, take some deep breaths, and I'll go around them, doom, 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 doom. And they just like, whoa. And it feels very tingly, but very relaxing. And that's usually, what I close out with to get them in the zone. And when they're drumming with me, I have had, especially entrepreneurs, gain instant clarity, for example. Like maybe they were stuck in their business and they had ideas. A lot of creatives too, and entrepreneurs, right? 1,001 ideas. I call it static in the attic, right? They just can't focus and they don't know either what to start with. They can't finish things. So as a result, they remain stuck. And I always ask them, show me how you're feeling today on your drum. And then I interpret it. And I can tell, yep, that's a stuck, or scattered, especially the kids. So what we do is I get them to switch their beat. And this is like a mind blower for some of them because they'll start out maybe very, very tentative. They're unsure. And gradually, usually by about the third session, because I do a 12-week program and they get a drum shipped to them. It's included in the program. If they're in the U.S., I can't ship outside of the U.S. But after usually the third session is like instant clarity. And they think, oh my gosh, now I know what I need to do. Or they'll gain confidence. I've worked with people who had like stage fright, for example. And just by getting them to switch their beat, all of a sudden their beats got really powerful. This totally fits with the podcast, Michael, because I call it the warrior woman beat. Don't believe me, just watch. Little uptown funk there. But
that's so empowering. I bet, especially for women, that really makes them feel powerful.
Yes, in fact, not with this drum. I have another one set up somewhere else. I have a whole setup at the church that I'm at. I have a strap, and so I put the strap because it's just a guitar strap attached to the drum, and I strap my drum on me. And whether I'm doing a motivational talk or I'm doing an event, I'm standing up. So it's even more powerful. And the sound waves go right through the bottom. And we do get from the point of, tap, tap, tap to really getting them to literally rock with me very, very quickly. Because if you can count, you can drum. You don't have to be a musician to do this. You don't have to have any experience at all. Some people say, but Dori, I don't have any rhythm. I said, you will when you drum with me. Because you just follow the beat. I make it really easy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 4-year-olds can do it, folks. And so can seniors. I've worked with all ages from 4 to 100. So it's not that hard. It's not that weird. It's loads of fun, and it's completely backed by science. There is loads of scientific research and established protocols. I do have trainings with 2 international organizations. So yes, I was a percussionist first, but I had no idea that my hobby and my passion for drumming would result in drumming with hundreds of people over the past 9 years, including some people that just instantly felt better. So, there's a lot of healing that takes place. Sometimes it's emotional. And
I read somewhere that one of the first instruments that humans created was a drum. And I wonder if it has something to do with the association between drums and heartbeats. Is that something you've worked with before?
Great segue. Thank you for getting me back on track there. Yes. In fact, there is a beat that every drummer, whether they do drum circles, which I don't do, but there's a lot of drum circle people in this area. Anybody who's familiar with therapeutic drumming at all or drum circles, the first thing they teach everybody is the heartbeat. Because for people who say they don't have rhythm, I'll tell them, put your hand right over your heart. What do you hear? And what do you feel? Obviously you can't hear, but you can feel it. Boom, 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 boom. That is your drum. It's inside your body. You have rhythm pulsing through your body all day long, from blood flowing to your heart pumping. It's all making noise, right? Everything's vibrating. If they were to hook you up to some sort of medical devices for tests, you hear all that stuff, right? So boom, boom, 1, 2, 1, 2. I have a lot of videos on my YouTube channel, folks, by the way, on Next Stage Drumming, and I do like drumming for stress relief, and I just do easy heartbeat. And that goes way back. Native American tribes and African tribes, they knew about all this stuff like eons ago. And they used drumming for 3 different reasons: communication, celebration, but also for healing. And they knew that the drum beat is very, very grounding, number 1. And number 2, it connects people in a way that I haven't found anything else to work nearly as well as this. In fact, I used to do business success and ADHD coaching, still do a little bit by request, but the drumming was on the back burner. But I realized, we need to drum first to get the clarity, to get the confidence, and then you can move forward with your business or career or life. And it does help. That heartbeat is really, really important if you're feeling overwhelmed, especially. Just get back to your heartbeat.
I think a lot of what you're talking about is totally in alignment with my whole warrior format and the journey of the warrior.
Yes.
Because one of the things I talk about, and one of the elements of being a warrior, is inviting like more adventure into your life, which basically is more play. And now when I say play is very therapeutic. And whether that is like me going out and hiking in the wilderness, or if it is picking up an instrument, or picking up a pen and paper, or sitting at a canvas, there is something about the act of creating, whether that's music or art, using your body, using your mind, and connecting the two, because that's what we're really talking about, right? It's, we're talking about the rhythm that is coming from, and I love that the significance for you is that you're not talking about sitting at a drum set, crashing cymbals all day. It's literally using your hands, putting it to the leather or faux leather of a djembe, and really letting that sound and reverberation flow through you and outward. And I think that's just in total alignment with our whole mission as part of the Elements.
Exactly. Go ahead, Shannon.
I was going to say, and I think there's such an undeniable link between music and art, that both are therapeutic, but oftentimes we use them together, right? oftentimes when an artist is creating, they listen to music. And so there's something to be said about the link for us between music and creation.
Exactly. And it's interesting because I find that people who are feeling stuck, they tend to be operating in their left brain side a lot. And that's, they're doing their tasks. That's where you have math and language and very analytical stuff. Let's check off our tasks in our to-do list. And they're so focused on the step-by-step stuff. And they need to tap into that right-brained creative side, because that's where the freedom comes from and release. So when people come and drum with me sometime, and I've drummed with like business execs and things for like lunch and learns, you can tell from the looks like, oh gosh, what the heck is this? What do they sign me up for? Is this a hippie thing? I've gotten all kinds. I don't own a stitch of tie-dye, folks. I'm a rock chick, okay? So I used to find, book, and manage local young rock bands, over 900 of them, when I owned Next Stage Entertainment. No, we don't do any of that, but they don't know what to expect. And then when they finally start to drum, it's funny. They go from like stressed out or skeptical to like pure joy. And people have pointed it out. Look at everybody. Look at all the smiles, because I'm giving them permission to have fun. Just release and let go. We're not going on tour with Santana or Bruno Mars anytime soon, although that would be fun. But that's not our goal today. Our goal is just to come together and to connect and to create some cool beats and to have some fun. And as a result, I said there's some therapeutic elements I'm going to sneak in there, but you won't even know because you'll be having so much fun. And they don't. And I always close out with a rockin' tune. I have a big karaoke speaker that I bring, and I cue up YouTube music, and I take requests. As long as it has a good beat and it's clean, I will teach them the easy way to play it. And sometimes if they can't think of a song at all, I'll come up with one. But it's so fun when they realize, oh, wow, man, we're jamming the Rolling Stones the other day, or they have jammed to Santana, or you name it. It could be something more current and all, especially for the kids, Imagine Dragons or whatever. And they just have a blast. And as a result, they feel better. And they're totally different at the end of the session than when they came in. So then I say, well, my job is done then. You've just been hit with some good vibrations.
And so I'm so glad that we talked about a lot of the therapy-based aspect that you approach and like kind of the functionality before we really got into your story, because I think that that's a really unique way of like, kind of doing it. Now we kind of know the here and now. I would love to spend some time again with whatever you're comfortable with sharing kind of the story that kind of really talk through this, like the accident and,
Sure.
the parallel path that kind of got you to where you are. I think that'd be very beneficial, especially now, kind of helping people understand
Yes.
kind of that learning curve, if you will.
The accident that changed everything. What are the odds that I would be in a crowd of 200 people and be run over by a speeding bicyclist? Not a Harley, not a forklift, nothing, not a car. I was just standing in a crowd of people at a work event. I had a day job in sales and marketing. We were entertaining clients and their families at a weekend event. Standing out there was tables set up with refreshments. And I was chatting with some people. All I heard next, though, 3 words that changed my life: Dori, look out. And it was from my coworker who was scooting right behind me with some clients. He just saw the kid coming, but I certainly did not. I didn't have enough time to get out of the way. But I did hear a still small voice. Again, people don't freak out, but I'm kind of used to when you hear that still small voice, which is for me is the voice of the Holy Spirit. I know that I better pay attention. And the 3 words I heard were, it was 2 words: lean back. And I didn't know why, but I found out much later after the accident that if I hadn't leaned back, the kid hit me with such force, it was like a football tackle, except I wasn't wearing any padding. As you can tell, I don't exactly have a whole lot of padding. I'm pretty skinny. So nothing broke though, which was amazing. He slammed into my arm, and I think like his tire hit the back of my leg at first. I went flying, Michael. I mean, literally, how far can a skinny chick fly? Pretty far, apparently. Wow. Yeah, it definitely was trying to prevent the fall. And I never hit the ground though, but I knew I was going down. And it's amazing things in your life that pop into when your life is flashing in front of your eyes. I used to work in New York City way back when, in my former life, BK before kids, and I was familiar with bicycle messengers. Everybody in New York City knows if a bicycle messenger comes flying down the street and you are standing at the stoplight, don't put even a foot out, because if you get hit, you could die. Because if your head hits the ground, you'll either get a severe concussion or you will die on impact. So I knew, get out of the way, leaned back. Even though I was hit, my head never hit the ground. So leaning back prevented the handlebars from hitting my heart. That's what a doctor told me. If you were just a few centimeters forward, you would have gotten hit and you would have died instantly. And she said, your arm should have shattered. That didn't happen either. What did happen, unfortunately, is I twisted on the way down trying to prevent the fall. I was kind of like spinning in a circle kind of thing. Former runner, I know how to fall. You tuck so that your head doesn't hit. So I'm twisting and I'm tucking, and I could feel my back going pop, pop, pop. And I thought, that's not going to be good. And it wasn't. So I'm going to fast forward here. What happened was the accident created multiple injuries, tears in my shoulder, my knee, my ankle, jacked up my hip, but it also created major back pain. Didn't know why, but I did know I couldn't do the job anymore, traveling up and down the East Coast, doing presentations, bringing in heavy boxes of brochures and stuff. So I relinquished my position, gave away the keys to the company car and the and the expense account, and off I went, figuring I'll be fine in 2 weeks. I'll just go back to my other businesses. I'll continue the tutoring. I'll keep booking the bands, maybe do some SAT prep. I will be fine, except I wasn't. And the pain kept getting worse. And 2 weeks turned into 3 long years. I was going to networking events all taped up and nobody knew it. Fake it till you make it, baby, which is not a good credo for a musician or anyone else, actually, because what happens is when you hide your pain, you're like in denial and you're not allowing anyone to help you. I got this. I'm good, super independent. And I had icy hot patches on my shoulder, my knee. Oh no, I had an ace bandage on my knee and an ace bandage on my back, on my ankle. My back had an icy hot patch. Did not find out until I asked the insurance company. They were still working with me. Pretty amazing. I'd like to go for an MRI because I think there's something seriously wrong. I think we're missing a piece of the puzzle here. I wasn't sleeping. I was having brain fog, like severe ADHD issues. I couldn't focus worth beans. I also was mixing up words for things. I couldn't think of the word for chair, for Pete's sakes. I did not know that was called temporary aphasia. I did not know that I was walking around with a concussion and that I had had whiplash early on. That sticks with you, by the way. I didn't know that a concussion can cause symptoms of depression. Found that out the hard way as I slowly started to slip down the rabbit hole, because suddenly I began to lose hope. The MRI revealed that the accident triggered a rare disease called Tarlov cyst disease. It's neurological and degenerative. There is no cure. There's only 2 doctors in the US that even know how to operate on this, and the operations cost $80,000, and the cysts can come back. So I had cysts all over my back, but I didn't know what the heck I was going to do next. At that point, it's like everything started crashing down because I thought, no. I was really angry with God. I was angry with the doctors. I was angry with the insurance company, with everybody, because they didn't believe me. 3 years of having people not believe you. And what did that trigger? PTSD from childhood. You never know. It was those feelings of nobody believing you, being betrayed. I came from an abusive home. So yeah, so I thought, oh crud, I thought I got rid of all that. But I'm glad I listened to God, who said, just use the drum story. Because I said, give me a way to heal myself and heal others, because I can't go on this way, because I was ready to check out. I'm being real transparent here because it is Mental Health Week. I had it all planned out. I figured I'm just sucking up air. I'm not helping anybody. I'm not contributing to the family income because I wasn't making any money hardly. What's the point? I'm done. I'm just done. And God said, no, you're not. So as I was using the drums, I was literally drumming for my life because I was so frustrated and I was so angry. I didn't know how it would work, but I was willing to give it a try because I had no other answers. I had nothing left. So I thought it couldn't hurt, right? So I just kept drumming. Whatever, but I was hitting it really hard. I drummed for 15 minutes a day, 5 days a week for 2 weeks. And in 2 weeks, I was completely healed. Nothing remained. The cysts were gone. The sprains and tears were gone. Brain fog, depression, numbness, temporary aphasia, everything was gone. And I was completely fine. So I don't want to get too weird because we don't have a whole lot of time, but there were other things that happened during those 2 weeks. So I know what I know. So when people say, oh, that's impossible and you're just making this up, I had a divine encounter. I was miraculously healed. I cannot promise that to everyone I work with, unfortunately, but I can promise that they will feel less stress and they will find their joy. Guaranteed. Those are two.
Well, there is an undeniable link, and I have read this before, between sound waves and healing. And a lot of times they'll tell you when you can't sleep to listen to a certain type of sound so that it'll have that sound wave. And I find that definitely from your story that gives credence to that.
Yes. And I discovered, because I was so intrigued, I thought, how am I going to explain this to people? Because even my Christian friends were like, what? But anyone else, I said, okay, folks, there is science behind this. Let me look into the sound waves more. And yes, it's sound waves and frequencies and the way you hit the drum too. So I began looking up and researching frequencies for different issues. And what can I use with somebody who has this or that or the other thing? And I found out that some of the things that I was doing intuitively was exactly what I was supposed to be doing. It's like, whoa, I didn't know that. Now I know why that particular exercise helped with the kids with autism or whatever, or that particular drum, or why, I added some extra elements for the girl with the seizure disorder. We needed to go with higher frequencies for her. So I just say that I going and doing what I know best. So I took my passion, it became my purpose. And now I promised God that I would use this and not forget what happened to me, making my mess my message. I want to bless as many people as I can for as long as I'm here. Because let's face it, I'm in my 60s now, so I don't know how much longer I can do this and hold all these drums, even though they're very lightweight. But when you know your divine assignment and it's super clear, that's a lot of people said, wow, you seem so different now. You seem so focused. You seem more confident. You can't mess with me now, people. I took a lot of hits from naysayers over the years and trolls and people in the networking community and even fellow Christians. Drumming? Hey, it's Psalm 150. Make a joyful noise to the Lord using loud crashing cymbals and they named all these other instruments. Psalm 150 is known as the drummer's psalm. So for the churches that told me, oh, you can't come in and bring those kind of drums, this isn't the venue for that. So sorry. You want to know about all the people that I have helped? If you don't like what I'm doing, or you're questioning my background, you got to just kind of go with, how does this make you feel? Is it helping? And it's helped a lot of people. It may not be for everyone, and that's okay. But if you just want to come out and have fun, that's okay too. Again, have some fun, whack on a drum.
I think that you're hitting on every, there's no doubt in knowing you for all these years, and and obviously having you on this, that you are very much the epitome of, like, especially our definition of a warrior, but a warrior in general. I mean, you're hitting on all of it. Like we talk about shifting mindset. We talk about inviting more play and adventure. We talk about the importance of developing a relationship with spirituality, and the strength that comes from creating that level of self-love and being visible and vulnerable, and that ultimate recipe of delivering and desire to drive impact. And I think you're just nailing all of those. So thank you for being, as transparent as you're being, and for being a messenger and servant. I certainly wrestle, and you and I have had these conversations. I wrestle with, my faith, but I think that that's a good thing. You look at like someone like David or Daniel, they predicated their whole entire existence off of that wrestling, and they became these significant, children of God because of that wrestling and testing and temperament. So,
well,
we all
it's
kind of
interesting. Yeah, it's interesting how it all came together, excuse me, from a very fun activity that I just was using for entertainment. I had no idea that there was a field called drum therapy. I had no idea. If you told me 20 years ago I'd be doing this, I would have probably laughed and said, yeah, right. But, when somebody, if you feel like what you have to offer isn't enough, or it's different or whatever, this goes out to all the different drummers out there. It's okay to be different. It's okay to try something new, even if you're older. You just never know, because if you don't give it a shot, you'll never know if it's going to work or not, number one. And number two, if anyone is out there who feels like they are losing hope, there is always hope. I was really literally at the very, very end of my rope. And instead of giving up, I reached up and I just said, okay, God, I've got nothing left. What do you got? Please help me. Tell me what I need to do. And that's when I got the instructions. But, it's just something that a lot of people who are experiencing right now due to COVID, kids and adults, isolation, anxiety, and depression through the roof. So if nothing else, I just have to share things with them while we're drumming together to let them know, please don't give up. You have something that the world needs. Maybe you haven't discovered it yet, but you will. Don't give up, because, you've got to fight. And that's what I did. And speaking of a warrior, I could have given up, but I decided to fight back. And I said, I am not going out this way. Okay, I agree. I'm going to fight and do what I need to do to get back on my feet. Someone in the networking community, she saw me once when I was really she's the only one that picked up from my eyes that I was not doing well. She said, what happened to the daring Dori that I once knew? And I said, she's left the building and I don't know how to bring her back until the drumming. And then I said, okay, I got this. Now I know why I have this crazy gift of rhythm. Now it all makes sense, and why I sometimes know things about people when we're drumming together. Like, okay, I got the whole package. It's like, Avengers Assemble. We're ready.
It also shows the power when you're, talking to people and they're naysayers. It shows you that just try something new. Try it. It's not going to hurt you.
No.
It only has the possibility of helping you. And if it does nothing for you, that's okay too. But just try it. Just try and see if this crazy idea, like you said, you go into these meetings and people are like, what is this? Yes. Give it a try. You never know. You never know if it could help you, or it could be the key to, like you said, unlocking stress and these mind blocks, and even your health, your mental health, your physical health. It's really hard to be depressed, and it's really hard to have all these negative emotions when you're acting in something that could potentially bring you so much joy.
Yeah. Exactly. And, that's why I love to pick out inspiring tunes. Doesn't matter, what genre it's in, as long as it has a good message or good chorus or whatever, it really does help people, because, it can become their theme song when they need it, Just remember that song when you're feeling down, and whether you're drawing on your legs or your desktop or you have a drum at home, it doesn't matter. Just remember that, life's short, people. you might as well rock.
That's right.
Why not? If you're not having fun, come on, then you need to add more fun to your life.
I mean, there's a
It
reason
kind
why.
of.
There's a
Oh,
reason
sorry,
why "We
Mike.
Will Rock You" is quite literally the rock anthem. Like, you don't go to a sporting event and it's simple, it's loud, it's
Right?
it's probably the most.
like
It's
three
like my
beats, you
go-to.
can't
Like, the
go
first thing I
wrong.
was like, well, what is that like anthem? I was like, "We Will Rock You." It's quite literally the lyrics, the song, the beat, like all of it. It's like it's captivated audiences for years because it's just quite literally meant to be that arena anthem of "We're here to rock."
Right. So when
That's what I was going to say is when you're in a crowd, right, you're at a concert, there's thousands of people all around you, and the song comes on and you clap to it, you clap to the beat of that drum. And so when you're in that environment and there's people around you and you're all clapping together, you're making that sound. I feel like it would be very akin to being in a drum circle and everybody participating in that, because when you're in a group and you're all doing that, you're all making that noise, you have that feeling, right? Like that tingle in your body.
Exactly. Rhythm, it really is a great way to not only bring everybody together, but it also levels the playing field. You should see some of my special needs classes. Oh my gosh. If you didn't know, if you just closed your eyes, you would not see any disabilities at all because they are that good. They have a great sense of rhythm, and a lot of them request classic rock at the end for whatever reason. And it's something that they realize, wow, I can do this. And I'm like, yeah, even better than the rest of my classes. So, even the adults, and it makes them feel like, oh, wow, because here they found something that they can do really well. And it doesn't matter that, some of them might be in wheelchairs. One of my students is blind. Many of them are on the autism spectrum and all. And it's like, the rhythm's going to get you, like Gloria Estefan once said.
So one of the things that I think that you spoke about really ties into one of my strong belief systems of like a path of enlightenment. Usually goes along the lines of something like intention, and then clarity, and then
Yes.
discernment. But like it really starts with like what you said. Like God told me to drum. Like and so you go into it the intent of like releasing that control, the intent of like just relinquishing that and allowing, you maybe not even know what, but then that breeds clarity as you start doing it. And then almost all the time, in a secular world, we might not call it, we might just say, oh, it's enlightenment, whatever. But really what it is that level of discernment.
Yes.
Not everyone needs to get on a prophetic level to be able to get there. But I think that discernment is like the antithesis of clarity, because knowing what you need to do and knowing how to do it are completely different things. And I think it starts with that surrender. It starts with that ability to go into, whatever you're doing with that case of, I don't need to be perfect. I don't need to create. I just need to be present. And that's what I'm taking away from a lot of this too. Like, as a musician myself, I know the escape that comes from, I've literally got my Les Paul like in hand's reach right now, and I know as soon as I put that guitar strap on, I go somewhere else. It's not me just strumming guitar. It's me in my mind, playing whatever, version of whatever I'm playing, because it's just that surrender release that musicians get or artists get. But we all have that capability, and you don't have to be a seasoned artist to get there. I think that, in fact, much like saying that everyone needs more play, it's getting to that escape. There's a great movie out, Soul, on Disney Plus, and they talk about going to that plane. Like when you are in that mode of like, and I love jazz. You listen to jazz or blues that is non-lyrical, that is just very much about rhythm, the blues, the feeling and emotion, and you just close your eyes and you go somewhere. It's that plane that we can all get to, and we all should get to. That's meditation. That is deep relaxation. That is true, spiritual clarity. And I think that what you're doing is remarkable because it's a recipe for getting there in a way that some people might not even think.
Exactly. Exactly. It definitely is something that I think of whenever I work with either an individual or a group. I need to know, what are our goals for our session today? So it really is drumming with intention, because I will formulate sometimes on the fly because something might change from what I planned on doing. And then you are drumming with the intention of helping them, whether it's team building or stress relief or whatever. And now you're more focused. And when they all come together on the same beat, I said, okay, this is called entrainment. We are all now locked into the beat. Doesn't this sound awesome? And they're just amazed because it sounds so good and they're having so much fun and they're connecting. But you do have to be open. The more open you are, the better it works.
And I love how inclusive it is. As I was listening to you earlier, my whole family, almost all of them play instruments. I do not. I have no rhythm. I have no concept of reading music or how you pick out the guitar from the whatever. But as you were talking, I was like, I bet I could drum. I can count. And so I think that I think that it opens that up for people who feel like, oh, I enjoy music, but I don't know anything about it. Like you said, well, if you can count, you can join in.
Yeah. And it's funny, Shannon, because so many people would come to my classes and events and they would get hooked and they would go, ooh, this feels so good. Where can I get one of these? So fortunately, I told the Toka company, the Toka Percussion, I said, can I sell these things? Because people want to buy them. And so they not only made me a Toka Percussion artist, which was a wonderful surprise because usually only touring artists get endorsement deals, but they also said you can be a distributor. So I tell people, what color do you want? I can order you one and have it shipped to your house.
I know, because as you've been talking, I'm thinking to myself, I'm like, now I want a small drum. I just want to start somewhere.
Yeah. I got all the little ones, big ones, purple, orange, red, you name it, brown.
Awesome.
It's cool. It's a fun way to literally beat anxiety and stress. Try something new, step out of your comfort zone. And it really does unlock whatever it is that might be preventing you from moving forward. So we've cleared a lot of mindset blocks just through drumming.
I'm a graphic designer. I don't know if you knew that, but I do graphic design. And sometimes I get so stuck, like finding the solution to the spatial problem or the design problem. And in my head now, I'm like, well, if I had a drum, I bet I could beat it out.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. I've worked with several creatives who just stuck for whatever reason. And it's like, okay, we've reined it in and they're like, oh, I feel so much more clarity now. But because I got that business coach background, I might make some suggestions. You can do this, this, and that. Oh, I never thought of that before. So it opens up possibilities for many people who feel stuck.
Like I was talking about earlier with the EMDR, I always came out of that, and my journaling would just explode because I'm a very visual person, and so like I write from like dreams, I write from like the visions that I have, and kind of like vision quite literally and figuratively, and so I can only imagine that same level of relaxing into the beat allows your mind to flourish visually, creatively, and just kind of that unlocking key. So
yeah, even if you just do a steady, repetitive rhythm, you're locking into that beat. And when you're doing that, you can't possibly think about anything else. So whatever you were worried about before, forget about it because you're just trying to, stick to your own beat, or maybe you're playing to a song or something. And it just makes you lock in. And for that moment in time, it's almost like time stands still and you're now in the zone and you really can focus way better than previously. So it's a pretty cool health and wellness tool.
Well, not only that, a lot of times when you're angry or you're sad or you're depressed, you just have this feeling that you just want to punch something or hit something. And so it's like, I can just imagine like being in that negative emotion and just like hitting that drum and just saying, okay, I'm letting everything else go. All I'm going to do is, like you said, be present in this moment. I'm just going to beat out this anger or this anxiety. I can just see that being a very powerful tool for being physical as well as mental and creative, like all three of those together.
Yeah, it can go both ways, Shannon, because I have worked with foster care kids and at-risk youth in different programs and things, and in some cases in small groups. And for the at-risk youth, I made sure I didn't bring my pretty new drums because I knew there would be anger issues. So I brought some of my older, drums that have been dinged up a bit so I wouldn't have to worry. And man, they really let loose. And it was a great release. And, some of them, you definitely could see that after so many sessions, like, I'm finally breaking through, because their eyes started sparkling and they started making a connection with me and looking at me instead of, ignoring me. Who's this old lady, Hey, I'm a rockin' grandma. What can I tell you?
Again,
I know a lot of their songs. I have a very wide repertoire. So I'll just say, who knows, this song by whatever. And, oh, you know that one? Yes, I do. I've played Metallica on a djembe, people. So you can do it. But
it goes back to what we said earlier about how it empowers you. So I could see that also working for children who are in these foster situations and who feel powerless in the system. And then all of a sudden they have this activity that really empowers them. I can see that being very rewarding and very powerful.
Oh, yeah. We do all kinds of exercises to make sure that everybody has a chance to shine. And if they want to pass, they can pass. But if they want to give me a little something, and then everybody claps and, oh, that was really amazing. And they change their opinion about each other because, oh, I didn't know that. I might get them to share. Tell me your favorite thing to do. What's your, when you're not in school, what's your favorite thing to do? Let's tap out a beat for that. Oh, you like, video games. Well, that's a given. So do I, or, you like this type of music. And suddenly they connect. It works with adults too, which is pretty fun. But with the adults, especially the women, they tend to play it safe. And it's like, tap, tap, tap. I'm not quite sure. Very tentative. And that's when I'll joke, is that all you got? Hit that thing. And they get, you got to hit it loud. You want to. Hit that thing. And when you give them permission, man, they're like, oh, this is really cool. Yeah, the harder you hit it, the better it feels.
Absolutely. All right. I think that's we're going to segue into our hot seat questions. These
gosh, okay.
3 questions that I think you do very well in the hot seat. I think you are fully prepared for the questions there. These are 3 questions that we ask all of our guests, and the whole point of our podcast really is to navigate through the question, what does it mean to be a warrior? And so these questions are the questions that we ask everyone. So how do you define what it means to be a warrior?
Oh, I think it's a lot of tapping into inner strength. And in my case, it's a spiritual connection as well. But just to remember who God created me to be, how he sees me. Because sometimes you forget and you tend to downplay or, criticize yourself, all that negative self-talk. And it's like, no, wait a second. I'm a warrior because I survived this, and this, and I'm still here and I'm still rocking.
That's right. That's absolutely right. And then how have you demonstrated that definition in your own life?
Well, everyone who comes out, whether it's a class, an event, or works with me privately, they get to hear a little bit of my story, but they get to hear a whole lot of encouragement, inspiration, and motivation to help them realize that you're never too old and it's never too late to rock what you got.
I think you kind of sort of answered this one, but what is one piece of advice that you would give people to help them live into your definition of being a warrior?
Well, I would say number one, don't second guess yourself. Don't downplay your dreams, and don't give up hope.
Yeah. I think there's so much value. And I think we're certainly blessed to be at any stage of our life to completely know what we're meant to be, to have our purpose so laser sharp focused to know this is what we're here for is tremendously a gift. But I really believe that with some searching, everybody can find it.
And this with Dori goes back to Mike and I always say that our purpose is to serve other people, and you certainly do that.
Yeah.
And that's when a young tutoring student once asked me before we started a tutoring session, Miss Dori, why are we here? And I thought, well, to boost your SAT scores, of course. No, he wanted to go way deeper. He said, no, why are we here on this earth? I went, oh, okay then. And it just popped out. I said, I believe that we are here to find our gifts and use them to bless others, because it's not all about you.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I say this a lot, our purpose is the same. Everyone's purpose is the same. It is service to others. What we're really searching for is the instrument to use it. And I just find it ironic that yours is quite literally an instrument. That's beautiful right there.
That was a great segment.
Yeah.
And keep in mind that your purpose changes depending on what season you're in.
Right.
So if you're thinking, I don't know what my purpose is, well, you will find that you've got something that you are supposed to do with what you have, where you are right now. That's all you need to know.
And so at the end of all of our podcasts, I like to give all of our guests the opportunity to, we'll give you a chance to talk about, where people can find you and things like that. But if there's something that you didn't get to talk about today that maybe just didn't come up in natural conversation, something that is important for you to share, whether it be because we are, going towards Mental Health Awareness Month, or, something that's just speaking to your heart that you want to share, I want to make sure that we give you that space to share that. That way you don't go down the road and be like, oh man, I wish I would have brought this up. So give you a little bit of space here. And if not, we can kind of go through promoing you.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting because during COVID, I found that things shifted for me a bit. And I was concerned about, if I can't appear live and in person and do live events, what am I going to do? Is this going to be the end of Next Stage Drumming? Am I going to have to fold it up? And then I realized, oh, wait a second. And God said, take it online. I went, online? So I never thought that this would work virtually. But I got clients all over the US, and I'm working with a gentleman in London. So my message is, just because you can't do something one way doesn't mean you can't do it. You just might need to pivot. I'm sorry, but I got to use that word, and switch things up. You've got to switch your beat a little bit. So change your rhythm, and you might be on the right track for something completely different that might be even better than what you originally intended.
Yeah. As a Friends fan of the 90s, I'm all about the pivot.
There you go.
I think that, that is something that shows that I think pivoting, adaptability, and that it comes from a place of like awareness, strength, but also, it's the surrender. I think that is such a key point that we oftentimes overlook as leaders, as business owners, as entrepreneurs. It's almost never about control. It's almost like true leadership. It's almost never about control. In fact, you find more in the surrender than you ever will in trying to chase control.
Yeah. And that's why there's so many great analogies with playing percussion. I tell people when I'm playing the percussion parts of a rock song, there might not be any percussion parts on the recording. I have to make it up on the fly sometimes if I'm playing with a band that, we didn't have any rehearsals. So it's a really good tool as an entrepreneur, because sometimes you go like, okay, I thought I was going to do this, but the drummer's doing that. So now I got to switch up my beat a little bit and do something a little bit different, or grab a shaker or a tambourine and just go with the flow.
Go with the flow for sure. All right. Well, where can people find you online?
Sure. You can go to my website, nextstagedrumming.com, as in moving you on to the next stage of life, not the literal next stage. If you hop on, you'll see that you're eligible for a free gift. If you sign up for my newsletter, I publish some helpful tips every couple of weeks, and you'll get a 5-minute video on stress relief, different techniques you can use even if you don't have a drum. And I give lots of affirmations and things in the video as well. And I'm also on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, everywhere you need to be. And I do have a couple of books on Amazon. My most current one is called Rise Up and Rock, Activating Your God-Given Purpose. And I will be doing a talk at Evangel Church on Thursday, May 19th for women. It's a free event, and I'm bringing the drums. You get to hear my story and loads of encouragement and motivation as well.
Yeah, please make sure to post that into the Warrior group so we can broadcast that out for you. And we'll have all your links in the description of this podcast so that people can find you. And then how can people work with you? Just talk a little bit about the services that you offer that people can look into.
Sure. Well, generally we set up an initial strategy session for a half an hour or so, because I need to find out what's going on with them and if I can help in any way. And if I'm not a good fit and they need something else, or they're just looking for drum lessons, I have a boatload of referrals and I'm more than happy to refer them to someone else. But I'd like to meet with them first, virtually or even on the phone, just to get an idea of what's going on with them or their child. And then I explain the process and how my 12-week drum therapy program works and what's involved.
Awesome. Well, I think this is an opportunity to do something we've never done. I think it just behooves us to let you play us out.
Oh, cool. I was waiting for you to grab your guitar or something. All right, here we go. Let's go a little Latin here. You ready? Yeah.
Hey Warriors, it's Michael, and I want to thank you for listening to the Warrior of Impact podcast. Make sure that you subscribe to us on your favorite streaming platforms and leave us a 5-star review. For more information, check out warriorofimpact.com.